Hey, we finally made it back. If you're just joining us, welcome back. This is
Oh, you're going in and out on me.
Weezy. We are discussing how to break the cycle of toxic fatherhood. And if you want to, you can go back to the beginning of the conversation. There is part one of this video where we have discussed how Shiloh Pitt and Suri Cruise have decided that they would be removing their father's last names from their names, which definitely indicates that there has been some toxic behavior from their fathers to the children. And I was explaining like the impact of toxic fatherhood in my own life, and basically really recommending this book that is on the screen, which is The Father Daughter Talk. Every parent, grandparent, about to be married, already married, should be reading this book. I cannot recommend it highly enough. And for all the ladies who might be thinking that they're too shy to come out and discuss the things that are missing in their knowledge, this book is the perfect book for you. It's written by a man, two ladies, to share the secrets of how men evaluate the women that they deal with and how they place them in different categories and how they protect the ladies and how ladies need to protect themselves from men who would just manipulate them. Lady Rose, I have no idea whatsoever what happened. All of a sudden, YouTube just kicked me out of the stream.
Mm.
Ridiculous. Anyway, to keep us going, because the intent is not to keep you here all day, and we all know, can you believe we're only halfway through? This same author has a book, it's called Queenology. This book shares tips on what an absent mother would have told her daughter growing up. And so I recommend this book for every person who might have not had the privilege of growing up with a mother who knows how to, because as Sussex Love pointed out, you can have both parents in the home, but did they teach you the right things though? That's another thing. And in reflecting back to my own upbringing, I grew up with my granddad, and he brought me up as a person. So neither male nor female, gender neutral is the most polite way of putting it. But there was more of an emphasis on being independent, which is not a bad thing. But I think that in order for it to be right, it needs to be as well rounded as possible. That's the only complaint.
That's interesting that you say that
Mm,
because my father made sure that I had females in my life, my mother's sister, his mother,
mm,
but he still raised me from his perspective. And he was from the South
mm,
in the United States.
mm,
And I was listening to Fannie Willis speak one time, and I listened to her father testify during that trial.
mm,
And he had, I realized it was a thing from Southern men of a certain era. He
mm.
taught me to be independent. He was so happy when I did good in
Yeah,
school. He knew I could do well and progress and get a good job and take care of myself. I wouldn't have to be dependent on a man. I thought it was solely because he just wanted me as a person to be independent. But
yeah,
when I was older and he told me about his life experiences, it was because of the horrific things that he experienced, the lynchings. He grew up circa 1920, 1930 in the South,
right.
and lynching of men, drug out of their homes.
Yeah,
So the point I'm making is, he, the men of that era, the black men, they taught their daughters to be independent because they have vivid memories of the woman being left behind to fend for herself when their man was taken away
yeah,
and locked up or
yeah,
murdered.
yeah.
So his basis was within him to make sure that, and no matter what happened to him, uh, even though he was in the
You'll
north,
be able to.
that
Yeah,
I would still take care of myself. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point actually, because what you're saying, what it is telling me is that he was, when you're growing up and you're little, you kind of see your parents, your grandparents, even no matter how tall they are, whether they're short, whether they're average height, or whether they're really tall, you really see them as larger than life. And so it's when you grow up and you realize that they're only human, really. They're only human. They're just teaching you as much as they know. At the end of the day, that's basically what you're saying. But he's teaching you from his lived experience to prevent the horrors that he has in his mind from happening in your life as well, or at least making sure that you can take care of yourself no matter what, right?
Yes, exactly. Just because he had this fear of it was ingrained,
Mm,
and plus, since my mother was gone, he was
mm,
up to him to take care of me. And I think it was amplified because she was gone and he was the only parent, but it was already there from, like I said, his experience of seeing women having to pick up the pieces and take care of the children and themselves in the midst of a horrific situation.
mm,
So I could balance a checkbook when I was 7. He made sure that I could, if something happened to him, he plotted out along the years. At 14, at 16, at 16, you'll be legal enough. They can't put you in a facility in this state. If I die, just be quiet and keep on till you finish high school. This is how you pay the bills. I mean, he planned out a way that I could survive if he was suddenly taken. That was his
mm,
mindset, even in the North, even being relatively safer than there. That was still his mindset, and it never left him.
mm.
It's good for me, but I didn't realize how much of that was ingrained and what a fear that was of him, especially since he had me when he was older. He had me when he was in his 40s,
Right.
So,
Do you know,
yeah,
the way I watch things happening in this day and age, it seems to me that it's almost better. I mean, biologically, I think it's better for parents to have their children when they're younger. Of course, it's easier on you, it's easier on your body, but mentally and emotionally, it seems like it's better to have your kids when you're older, because then you have a lot more maturity to deal with a lot of the life issues alongside having to raise another human being.
exactly, exactly.
Anyway, so while these books are great for understanding relationships, when we talk about fatherhood and toxic fatherhood, we're dealing with deep rooted trauma that shapes your worldview long before you are ready to get married. And whether you know it or not, that trauma twists your perspective. So, someone who had the kind of upbringing that you did, if it wasn't handled right in the life of that person, may have entered into a relationship or marriage with the idea that I am going to be an independent woman, a man can't do anything for me, and all of this. But your father handled it right. So it seems like he was the ideal kind of father to have around. But what about those who didn't have that? So
Exactly.
we kind of have to do the work. That's why my thumbnail says Harry and Meghan doing the work, because they thought they were okay until they got to a certain age, and then they realized that no, this is not it.
Exactly. Exactly. Circumstance happened to show them because
Yes,
they could have gone along a long way the way they were and not ever known how bad it was.
yes, yes. So that's why I also realized that I needed to go deeper, and I went on my own during myself all the things that I wish that someone had taught me when I was younger, but I didn't get anyone to teach me. And things began to make sense once I started reaching out for more information. Like this book I came along, I didn't realize there was such a thing called narcissistic fathers. I did not know. I did not know at all. And when I read this book, a lot of the things I experienced when I was growing up made sense, made absolute sense. Because this book it's got a long title, but let's just call it Recovery from Narcissistic Parent Abuse. And this book was more like seeing puzzle pieces appear on the board. I began to understand what was missing in my life, why it was missing, and tips on how to fill in the gaps a good father should have filled. So the next tip that I would have for someone who is looking to break the cycle of toxic fatherhood is to try to build healthy relationships. Build healthy relationships around yourself. Um, I think I would not be altogether wrong. And I just mentioned it that if I said a lot of people don't even know what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. But I can tell you that one of the signs of a healthy relationship is where you have space. Some people say sound is going in and out. It might likely be your internet or it might even be mine. But I've checked and tested all the equipment. So sorry about that. What One of the signs of a healthy relationship is the space for good communication skills. What are the indicators of good communication skills? The first is active listening. Take time to listen to your children without interrupting. Show them that their feelings are valid. You have those kind of people who they call you, they expect to have a conversation with you. They say they're having a conversation with you, but they've just called you to tell you what they had on their mind to say. They don't give you the room to respond back.
That's a good point.
They don't give you the room to respond back. They just called you to tell you what they had on their mind. They don't give you the room to say anything back in return. And the reason why I laughed is because, like in Nigeria, among the Yoruba people, Yoruba people are spicy. They can go off on you in a split second. But one thing they do recognize is that after they finish going off on you, then they will wait for you to respond. And if you don't give them the space, if you don't, like, let's say someone has just finished going off on you and that person doesn't give you the space to respond, the person who you were talking to will say, you're walking away. No, 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 no. Come back. Come back for your response.
I hear you.
Come back for your response. I have a lot to tell you.
Yes, yes.
I say, come back for your response. You can't just go off talking and then think that you've said something and that's the end of conversation. No, wait for my response and then you will know whether or not the conversation is ended. And I think that that is actually a sign of someone who is narcissistic, because a narcissistic person believes that the only important thing is their opinion and what they have on their mind to say. They don't give you the room to enter into the chat, enter into the conversation. So it's a great indicator of someone who you can also, it's a great indicator of someone who you can have a relationship with. I think someone who you can have a conversation with. And when I say relationship, I don't mean a romantic relationship. I mean any kind of relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, another one is, I mean, people take this kind of stuff for granted, but when your child is speaking to you, and when I use child in this context, I'm talking about all of us. It doesn't matter the age. If you're the child of someone, you're the child. You might be a grandparent talking to your adult child. You might be a niece to someone, or you might be the aunt to someone. You might be in the position of someone who could be the parent to someone. But if it is your hope to cure yourself of toxic parenting or toxic fatherhood, when your child is speaking to you, give them your full attention. Stop texting while you are talking. Stop
Mm.
trying to do 70,000 things while at the same time when this person is talking to you. Show them you're listening by attempting to maintain eye contact. And for goodness sake, refrain from interrupting. Just they're trying to make a point, you cut them off. You're trying to make a point, you cut them off. Like the only opinion that is important is yours. No, stop.
Exactly. I agree.
Stop and listen. And listen. And it shouldn't be a situation where you're just waiting for them to finish talking so that you can rebut everything they just said. No. The whole point for everything is negotiation, really. So you need to negotiate to an acceptable ground, because it might not always be middle ground, but and it might be an acceptable ground. And another tip, another sign of a great um, communicator, I would say, is someone who shows respect to others, including family members and strangers alike. Demonstrate kindness by helping others in need and being considerate of different perspectives. Different perspective being the key word. Always, I mean, it takes some growing, and I can tell you that even at this age where I'm at, it takes sometimes long conversations before I'm able to get to that point where I'm able to see things from another person's point of view. I think, Sussex Love, what do you think? I think that that's another level of maturity, when you're able to see things from another person's point of view when there is a conversation
I think
going
it is
on.
because I think that in my case it came more with age because when I was younger I had goals that I wanted to achieve.
Right.
I had a mindset of focus on let's go for that, and I had a pretty clear cut idea of life and how it should go from the way my father taught me and the way I was raised. And I didn't think that I needed a lot of opinions from a lot of different people. I didn't sit
Yeah.
think about what I could learn because I felt I could go ask my father different things.
Yeah.
So why do these other people? I don't know where their heart is. They don't have my best interest at heart. I know my father has my best interest at heart. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, but I did value other people's opinions because sometimes I wanted to understand. I found that what made me listen to other people's when I met different types of people, like in college, that I
Yeah.
never run across before, and I had a curiosity to understand their point of view, and it also depends on their reaction toward me because some of the foreign students would be very receptive to me, and some of them would have the same attitude as our racist white people that we were used to.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to navigate
Yeah.
different people, and I realized you can't do that if you don't understand where these people are coming from. You don't know if they mean you harm, even if you don't understand. So that made me start listening
Yeah.
more than I used to.
Okay. So far we have done four tips. I'm going to give you the fifth one now, and it's actually my favorite one. Um, which is setting and respecting boundaries. Setting boundaries is crucial for maintaining healthy relationships and personal well being. It involves clearly communicating your needs, limits, and expectations to others while also recognizing and honoring their boundaries. This practice fosters mutual respect, it reduces conflicts, and promotes emotional and mental health. In the context of toxic fatherhood, establishing boundaries can help break destructive patterns and create a more positive environment for both parents and children. I say that this one is my best one because again, given my own background, I found out that this is one of the skills I developed late. And once I developed it, it freed me from so much. Oh my God. It
Wow.
freed me from so much. It freed me from so much. You know, it just made me feel like um setting your boundaries in life, it's like marking out your own piece of land in the mental space, if that makes any sense. Like you put the boundaries around yourself and you say who crosses that boundary, if they're allowed to cross it, and on under what circumstance that boundary can be crossed.
It
And
stops unwanted intrusion into your life as well.
right, yes, I was the classic people pleaser. I think I still suffer from it every now and then. I still classic people pleaser. Learning about how all of this stuff, took me through you because you learn it you learn it academically before it actually begins to filter down into your own real behavior. And so learning boundaries, guess who our faves exercise their rights to set their boundaries, right?
Exactly.
Harry and Meghan, they set their boundaries by telling Harry, I think once he started going for therapy, it was a natural conclusion that, yes, Lady Rose, you're absolutely right. Harry and Meghan were setting boundaries with their parents. They had to set the boundaries with their parents because they saw that the environment that they were in was not conducive for their mental health. And so they were the ones who then said, okay, I can see. It's almost like he didn't. I think Meghan knew before Harry, but Harry didn't know that he actually had the right to say what could or couldn't happen to him. He just accepted everything. And that's a typical example of a victim of toxic fatherhood. You
Yeah.
just accept everything. You have no boundaries. And it is typical that your toxic parent will have a tantrum when you begin to set the boundaries around your life. So maybe we shouldn't be so surprised by King Charles's behavior because he's not used to anyone telling him no anyway. And then his son has the audacity to be so healthy that he tells him, you can come this far and no further. What you mean? I'm the king. Yeah, but still no further. What you mean? I'm the father. Yeah, yep. Yep, I get that, but still no further. Okay, your children belong to me. I said no further.
Exactly. Exactly. They set boundaries with their children as well,
Right.
with the British media, which
Yeah.
they are going crazy about. Definitely.
Right. Right. So what we are seeing is Harry and Meghan who have been to therapy. That's why I have it on my thumbnail. They're doing the work. So it tells me that it's a natural sequence of events that is occurring because once Prince Harry started to go to therapy, the natural consequence of that therapy was him realizing that actually, if I don't like something, I can say. And as a matter of fact, I need to figure out how much space I need in this world in order for me to feel comfortable. And what I don't want anyone doing in order to make me feel uncomfortable. And if I don't want you into my safe space, let's call it that, then I need to eject you from it, or I need to come out of the environment that is causing me to be uncomfortable. It's such a brilliant realization. Honestly, it was so freeing for me to realize that, do you know what? Actually, I don't have to take this.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Like
I don't
sometimes,
have to take this. And when you've done it a couple of times, you become so calm. And you know, the calmer you are, the more annoying it is for the people who are observing you, because they don't understand the reason why you are not as het up as they are. And if you watch Harry and Meghan, they're very calm.
yes. Well, Harry has said, I'm no longer angry anymore. I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be,
Right.
and I have the life that I've always wanted. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the anger leaves once you get your mind right and
Mm-hmm.
realize an appreciation for what you have and what you have gone through, the storms you have weathered, are stronger. When you said that about you don't have to take this anymore, I swear to God, one of my favorite movies of all time came to mind with the great late Peter Finch, which was
Okay.
Network, when he yelled out as loudly as he could, "I'm mad as hell, and I don't have to take this anymore." All the people start raising their windows and screaming, "I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this."
Yeah.
That's what reminded me of when you come to that clarity and you
Yeah.
get resolve to change it and make that step in your life. It's like cleansing.
It
Uh,
is. A huge weight dropped off of my shoulder because I had actually seen my life as someone who has to deal with all the mess, because I grew up with my granddad, and uh, my mom was the first of 12 girls. Can you imagine the cacophony?
well, that's a lot.
12,
A lot.
12 girls. And because my mom wasn't here, I had to move literally from house to house to house to house to house to house for one thing or the other. One thing, I was just like a floating agent. Nobody's child, but everybody's child. Everyone supporting, but no one really responsible for this child. And so it was so dramatic all the time, so much drama. But when I got to a certain stage and one day after I started looking into all of this stuff, I just said to myself, "Do you know what? I really do not have to put myself out there as much as I am." And this is what I don't want to be happening in my life in order for me to maintain my sanity. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. And once I started to do that, oh, of course, you had people falling out of their chairs and doing all sorts of things. But yeah, I didn't pay them any mind, and which is the reason why you're talking to sane Louisa today.
Mhm.
So the sixth tip is self care. Just like mothers are encouraged to practice self care, so also are fathers encouraged to practice self care. There are a few men that listen to me. Please note that we're not always just talking to the women. You are also part of the conversation. And we aren't just saying that you're bad, we also encourage you to take care of yourself, because self care is not a luxury but a foundational practice in breaking the cycle of toxicity. It promotes essential skills like self awareness, emotional regulation, boundary setting, and generational healing. I
And,
love to
and
go to those
remember,
homes where you see the men doing the things that they like men that love to play golf, for instance, that love uh, watching football. I love those homes where there is something like the wife would probably say, "Oh, it's Saturday and it's 3 p.m." Oh, some women call their husbands daddy or, whatever. And they would
You know,
say,
I never could do that. I thought that was so bizarre. I could never do that. Never, never, never. No, because when my husband and I first married, we argued. The first thing I would say is, "You're not my daddy. You don't just tell me what to do." So I couldn't make that connection. I just never could. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was just so when you have those people who have like something, they would say maybe 3 p.m. on a Sunday. This like an event usually happens in the home, which is the father's activity. I love it. I used to love it so much because I just like to see the man, like the men who are there for their families. I'm talking about. I love to see
Yeah.
them enjoying themselves. I love it. I love it. The way they're just like maybe relaxing on the couch, maybe having their little Sunday tot of whiskey or whatever, and uh, the wife is cooking his favorite meal, or he's going out for his golf with his friends, and maybe his wife is doing her own thing. Maybe she's going to the spa because he's going off. I just love it. I just love that kind of environment where everyone's kind of taking care of themselves in their own way, and then when they're done, they come back together and they just have um enjoy each other's company. Like
Yeah.
once again. Yeah. I just love those kind of environment. It just feels like that's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, that's what
So
it is. At a home, that's supposed to be everyone that lives there, the family. That's supposed to be their sanctuary where they
right.
feel safe and loved and comfortable, and everything you need is there. The people that you love is there. That is what a home is supposed to be. It's supposed to be somewhere that you love to get away from the world and come to for the
Mm.
father, for the mother, and for the children. You know,
Yes.
so
For the children as well. I loved it when I was like growing up, and let's say I went home with one of my friends from school, and then the mother would say, "Oh, like introduce me to your friend," and I'm introduced, and the mother would say, "Where do you live? Who are your parents?" Blah 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 blah, and it's almost like I have an ID card from that moment afterwards. Every time I come in, the mother remembers my name. "Oh, hello, Weezy. How are you? How is school? Um, how's your teachers?" When she comes to visit her children in school, because people knew that my mother was abroad, when she's coming, she would bring something for her children in at school, and then she brings something for me. And good thing though is when my mother would come in, I would typically tell my mom about these women, and then she would bring something for the women and go say thank you to them behind the scenes. So I think she made some friends through me, because although I'm much quieter
right,
now as an adult, but I was a lot more outspoken when I
right,
was
right,
younger. I was
right.
a lot more outgoing when I was younger. Yes, I used to dance and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of
Anyway.
like your sixth tip about the children being, I guess, more independent
Mhm,
or self-aware for the children,
mm,
self-awareness.
mm, mhm.
Wasn't that the point you was making about that the for the self-care tip?
Yes, self-care. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. So the let me see. Let me pull this up.
It was tip
It's like
six, was it?
self-care
Maybe.
activities, like examples of, like, some men need reminding that there are things that they can do. So let me use this as a public service announcement to men. Please take time to do things you enjoy, take care of yourself. When we say healthy eating, we're not talking about like take care of yourselves, okay? Take time to go out in nature, fresh air. Take time if you are the type to believe in something, spiritual practices are very helpful. It started me on the journey of healing myself. Relaxation techniques, social connections, quality sleep, mindfulness, and meditation. All these are techniques that men, I would say, they don't often take the time to take care of themselves, but I think they need to perhaps be encouraged more to do just that. I think that's why some men, the men who are not narcissistic, become a bit selfish because they feel like they give to everyone, but they never get anything back, or they never have anything for themselves, or they never enjoy themselves because it's either going to work or coming for work from work, but they don't realize that they set up that schedule for themselves.
Well, sometimes they have
Lady
to
Rose
work where they
says,
need to go where the work is,
you
though. You can't really say that sometimes they need to go where
sausage
the work is.
love, look at the screen. Lady Rose says, "You Weezy, you don't usually sleep." You know why I'm laughing? Because it's so true. I try to, I try to do the thing is already because I do this podcast. The I am out of the realm of regular sleep times for the UK, and that's just completely messed up my whole sleep rhythm. So it's taken me a while. It is taking me a while to get into a regular sleep routine, but I am trying to make it better. Lady Rose, you're so funny.
Telling the truth. Just telling the truth.
Okay, so the last tip for you, the person who is trying to break the cycle of toxic fatherhood, is for you to be intentional about being there for your kids emotionally. This is something that if you're not used to doing, you have to do on purpose because it's not something that comes to you naturally. As I say this, it reminds me of the time when Khloe Kardashian said I think when she had her second son, that she didn't necessarily feel any maternal affection towards him straight away after he was born. Who remembers that?
I don't pay much attention to them, but I do. I do remember that, and I thought it was just a ploy to get the attention of the father and publicity because their
Right.
show ratings was going down.
Mhm. But
So
assuming that that was true, that is something that she would then have to work on in terms of what I just said about being intentional, about being available to her son on purpose, because she does not have the natural maternal feelings towards her son. So be there, acknowledge their struggles, and offer comfort. And some people will say, well, I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother of six. What are you talking about? I already know how to do this stuff. It's okay. There's never too I don't think you can ever have too much learning, and it's just an opportunity to have a look at what you're actually doing to see whether it's the good stuff or the toxic stuff, or whether anything can be tweaked. And for people who are grandparents, you may not have gotten it right with your children, but this there is an opportunity to get it right with your grandchildren or
the
your
second
nieces
time around,
or your nephews, right? Yes,
second
second
time
time
around,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, because perhaps you were too stressed trying to earn a living when it was your turn to be a parent. So now you can do it better now that you don't have those concerns anymore. You can be for your grandchildren the parents you wished that you were to your children when they were growing up.
That's exactly.
Uh,
A lot of people have that experience. Jada Pinkett Smith had that experience. Her mother was a nurse, but she was also on drugs, so she wasn't really that much. I mean, she was as good as she could be, but
mm,
she made up for it when Jada started to get some success and Will's career took off.
yeah.
She was there to watch the children. She would come on the set and take care of the children while she was working, and take the children to school. So that was a burden lifted from her, and she appreciated that. And that was the way her mother could work her guilt off, because her mother said she had guilt for not being there for her like she should, because she had her own demons. And that was a way for both of them to heal and come together, because she was there for helping her with her children.
Mm. You know, I want to say something, but the way it's presenting in my head is too harsh.
Oh,
And I don't know how else to say it, but it just seems to me that perhaps that's the reason why Jada is the way she is, because she does show signs of someone who had a toxic parent.
well, her parent was. It wasn't that she was toxic, as because she did have her grandparents and her mother's siblings, but her mother was, because she was a good person. She was a nurse. She loved her patients. Jada has stories about how she took care of her patients, but she was drug addicted, and that takes its toll. No matter what good
Mm,
person you are not living up to your best expectations. She was not being the best mother. She wasn't even being the best person to herself, because she was under the influence. So she had a life that could have been a lot better, but it did lead her down paths that she would not have gone had her mother had not gone down those kind of dark corridors. You know what I mean? Because she had a.
yeah, but I think we're kind of saying the same thing, because when I say that, uh, the choices the mother made then made Jada to that led the choices the mother made then led Jada down routes that she probably wouldn't have taken if her mother
Yeah.
had been paying attention. That's the
Right.
toxicity of it all.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
But at the
because
same time,
you,
but you know what? Sometimes, you
yeah, go
you
on.
it might be what you need. And Jada said later in life that the streets of Baltimore and that type of life she led, she said it prepared her for the toxic lifestyle in Hollywood. She said
Mm,
that street life prepared her for that. So that
mm,
tells you how bad Hollywood must be if she's saying that that street life prepared her to be able to
mm,
deal with Hollywood.
mhm.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
but okay, we're talking about toxic
Yeah,
fatherhood,
yeah.
particularly.
Hmm.
But we can also bring in toxic parenting as a whole, although we're
Yes.
going to do another one on toxic mothers and perhaps another one on toxic parenting as a whole. But just
Mhm.
this little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, imagine you have Jada, and then imagine you have Will, and then
Hmm.
look at their kids.
Hmm.
And I'll
Will
just leave it
from a
there.
broken home too. You
Yeah,
know.
and I'll just leave it right there because this
Yeah.
is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can even have all the money, you can have your father and mother present, but what are you putting in your kids?
Hmm.
What are you putting in them? The Bible says, by their fruit you shall know them."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Ta-da! As Steve Harvey would say, ta-da!
Mhm. But that's what you
Uh,
saw. I mean, when you like Will came from a broken home. Neither one of them knew what a good relationship looked like.
yeah.
They had to figure it out by themselves. And Jada's mother married multiple times, she had experiences where she would pick a good, decent mate, but when they broke up, then the mate wouldn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. And as a child, it was hard for her to process that because they were such a good parent while they were there. And then when the parent broke up with and the marriage was ended, then the father didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. So it was all kind of things, toxicity in her life.
And it's I didn't believe it was possible, but I've actually seen it happen where you could actually thing is that happens. It's just crazy how this thing works from the female perspective, which is why I recommend this book for every woman. Okay. If you find yourself in a situation where you are constantly getting the short end of the stick when it comes to relationships, while it is true that the men may not be worth anything and they are big doo-doos, but the thing is, you pick them, and that's not even blaming you. That's blaming the fact that um, perhaps you didn't have enough training, development, nurturing to be able to know how to pick a good man.
Well, if you have low self-esteem,
Mm.
it's not just who you pick; it's who is drawn to you.
Energy, the
Yeah,
energy, yes,
exactly.
the energy you are carrying attracts the energy of the kind of man who would
Hmm. Take
be the
advantage.
kind of man that would take advantage, manipulate. Yeah, so that's why the healing is very important. That's
Exactly.
why the healing is very important. That's why the discovery, the self awareness, it's very important. Because once you know better, honestly, the kind of man that will be attracted to you will change automatically without you
Yes.
even saying a
Yes.
word.
Exactly. Exactly. By the way you
You,
carry yourself and
yeah.
the way you move around in the world and what you do, that
Mhm.
yes, the men will tell you they're
Without
they're
you saying
attracted.
a
Yeah.
word, the kind of man that will be attracted to you would change.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay,
Lady Rose
so
can't wait to talk about toxic Camilla.
toxic Camilla.
That could be a whole other segment, Lady Rose, because Camilla has got
She
some
needs her own
decades.
video. She
She
needs
does,
her own video. She
because she
does.
got toxicity for decades. We could go from the 90s
She
decades.
and her art of conquering as this queen of side chicks needs to be studied.
Yes, because
It
she made it an
needs
art
to be.
form. She
She
made it an
made it
art.
an art form for real. Okay, so where are we? Uh,
We're on the the last
right.
tip.
The
Intentionally
la-
three kids.
okay, so this is you, Sussex Love.
Okay, the last tip for you to be intentionally there for your kids emotionally. This is something you will have to do on purpose if it is not something that you are already used to doing. Be there for
Mm-hmm.
your kids emotionally, acknowledge their struggles, and offer comfort.
Right.
Bringing it back to our friend Tony, who had asked for ideas on how to break the cycle of toxicity in his relationship with his own kids. Weezy hopped on a call with him and agreed. And after breaking all of these steps down to him, he said, "Thanks so much. I think I am going to start by reading the book and to ensure that I follow through with my desire to correct this toxic behavior, which I am now working to eradicate. Ask you to please help him become to be an partner and being him becoming accountable."
Mm.
And I was excited to hear that too, because that means he really wants to follow through if he's asking you to help him by helping to monitor that he stays on the path. I think that's wonderful. You should
Yeah,
feel.
I was really excited to be his accountability partner. Honestly, I was really proud of him for listening, first of all. So, for him to take it a step further for and ask me to be his accountability partner, I then realized that he was really serious about it.
Is he married? I'm just wondering, is he currently married?
Yeah, he's married. He's got 2 kids.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if he was together with her or if he was separate. Okay, that's
No,
good.
no, no, no. He is married, definitely.
Because
And
both of them
yeah, go
probably
on.
have to work.
Yeah, that's a point, though. That's a point. That's a point. One day
Remember,
I will just, I have learned the skill of being uh, a nosy, busybody. Well, not in a rude way, but
mhm. Yeah.
I have learned the skill of knowing how to, dig deep into issues. So I will definitely, now that you mention it, I think that's a great point that she probably also may need to be brought into the process, even though she um, is okay on her own. But since they are a two-parent family bringing up their kids,
Hmm.
then it would be smoother, I think, and also help him in the process if,
Yeah, she can help him stay straight, 'cause she's right there.
yeah,
She can give him kind, remindings, or just
yeah,
gentle nudgings. you know.
yeah, yeah.
But to remember Prince Harry's advocacy for mental health, therapy, and self awareness are crucial steps in becoming a better parent. Harry has spoken about his own therapy journey, which has helped him address his past and become a more present father, which is absolutely right. You cannot make sure that your children aren't broken if you are broken. You have to fix
Hmm.
yourself to break out of the cycle. So that was very. I'm glad that he did that. I
Hmm.
wish other people would realize therapy is helpful for you and the people around you. You know,
Mm.
we've learned that toxic fatherhood can deeply impact children, but with effort and the right tools, we can change the narrative. For Chris, remember Chris, the guy who gave his father whiskey and nuts? Applying these lessons means balancing his career and parenting more effectively. He can ensure that his children feel loved and valued despite his busy schedule.
Okay,
Speaking of,
so speaking of tools, the books we mentioned in our last video are fantastic resources for anyone looking to improve their parenting skills. As I have said, this book is gold, is golden. Right now, this is my gift to any of my friends' children who turn 13, anyone who tells me that they are having relationship problems. I don't even say anything. I just buy this book and send it to them. I said to them, read this book first and then we will talk.
all right.
Yes, the book is that good. I can swear by this book. It's just unmasked all the toxic beliefs. It just completely removed all the toxic beliefs that I had in my head. And the worst part is that a lot of us who didn't have the maternal or paternal guidance that we needed then now rely on the media to tell us what good relationships look like.
Mhm.
And so it's based on Disney or Mills and Boons books, romance books. And all of those things are not real.
Well, what is real though is communication. And I can tell you
Communication.
that once
Yeah.
communication if you get that, that is the key to a good relationship. It's a key to a lasting relationship. Is a key to better understanding each other, which will build the relationship. It's the key to everything. There's an old book from the, I can't remember, it's the 80s or 90s. It was called Men Are from Mars, Women Are from
Winner
Venus.
from, yep.
And that book just, very lightheartedly just really showed the differences of the way men and women think, the way
Mm,
communicate with each other, the way one thing might mean something to her, it'll mean something different to him, and why they
yep.
can miscommunicate because they're not understanding what each other are meaning or saying. And
Saying, yeah.
it's so that's a good book too, I think, for
That's
today.
another good book. I will look for the link and put it in the description box as well, because when why, what's motivated me or what inspired me to start looking into all these things, because I was receiving the negative effects of it all, but still didn't know where and how to look until I heard, when I was looking into marriages. I was reading, because no one that I trusted to really ask about a lot of things, and so I started reading about marriages and how to be a woman in a marriage and all these kind of things. And I came across one of these relationship coaches said something that I felt to me was kind of profound, that the reason why women who are highly educated, they do well in school, they do well at their jobs, but they are awful when it comes to relationships, because they spend time s- perfecting the art of studying to pass their exams. They spend time studying the art of being good at their jobs, but they don't really have that much time to spend at the art of being good at relationships. Relationships with their families is a stretch, not to talk about romantic relationships. A lot of people just feel like it comes naturally. But if you didn't have the natural education growing up about what a good relationship looks like, there is every likelihood that you will fail at it, because you don't even have enough exposure, early training, and practice at it for it to be successful. And it's a shame, because a lot of women that um, sacrifice a lot in order to go to school so that they can have a good life, they now feel like they don't have the time. They now feel like they don't have the time to uh, they don't feel that they have had the time to make a good relationship, and they end up with a lot of bad relationships, quite unfortunately. Anyway, so these books again, for everyone, Queenology, the first one is the Father Daughter Talk. It's really cheap. It's about 7 8 pounds. This one is about £10, and this book is about £10 as well. It's something that everyone can afford. It's really worth it. Once you, I was going to say, once you go black, you can't go back, but that's not what we're talking about today. Once you start looking into these things, you will understand why I'm talking about it so much, why I'm so passionate about it. It's
That
so
sorry. Once you go
yeah, go
black,
on.
that is true.
Did you hear me when I say?
Very
So, with that said, um, I would say, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. So, if all of this conversation it seems overwhelming, don't be overwhelmed. Just take one little step at a time. Don't be deterred, and you will accomplish your goals at the end of the day. So, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation on toxic fatherhood. I deliberately allowed it to ramble into different directions just because the hardcore content would seem a bit dull to some people. But, when you spice it up with the real life situations going on behind the scenes that are related to what we're talking about, then people can relate to what we're talking about and engage with it. Don't forget to subscribe for more insightful content and let me know in the comments what steps you're taking to improve your parenting journey, if any. Next time, we're going to be diving into the almighty topic of divorce and how to overcome the devastating effects of divorce. I know Harry's uncle, Charles Spencer, is in the process of getting divorced. I can't count the number of celebrities who have gotten divorced in 2024. Um, and how devastating it has been. I mean, we have had J Lo and Ben Affleck. We have had Tiana Taylor. We have had Jeannie Mai and Jeezy, um, uh, who have gotten married and within a short space of time gotten divorced. It's enough to put people off wanting to get married. But I also feel that part of the reason, I'm sure that this is not a one cure for all things that ail um, couples intending to get married. But I think looking into doing the healing work from your youth, your childhood traumas will definitely help. Hopefully, that healing work is not left until you are actually ready to take your vows at the altar, because you might find out at that point that you are actually about to marry the wrong person. And it would take a very courageous person indeed to be almost at the point of taking their vows at the altar to then decide not to proceed with the marriage. I don't know. Would I? I don't know whether I would have the courage to decide not to proceed if it were me. I don't know, but it is definitely something that some people have done. Anyway, tell me what you think about this subject matter in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember, being a good parent starts with being a good listener. See you next time. This is Weezy signing out. Bye. Bye. Love you all. Thank you.